Silence is not emptiness, it is the birthplace of all power. The world convinces you that speaking louder, shouting your achievements, and constantly making noise is the way to rise. But the truth is far more profound. The greatest emperors, philosophers, and warriors of history understood that the royal power of silence is what creates dominance. Noise attracts attention for a moment, but silence commands respect for a lifetime. When you stop explaining yourself to the world leans closer to understand you. When you stop wasting your breath on meaningless chatter, your words, when spoken, carry the weight of thunder. Most people are terrified of silence. They feel uncomfortable sitting alone with their thoughts because silence reveals their truth. Yet, if you can embrace silence, you will find a force greater than armies, money, or influence. In silence, your mind sharpens like a blade, your intuition becomes a compass, and your energy stops leaking into worthless battles. Silence is not weakness. It is a weapon that builds empires, a shield that protects your soul, and a crown that no one can take from you. The problem is, in today's world, people confuse noise with success. They flood social media with every detail of their lives, desperate to be seen, desperate to be heard. But the kings and queens of destiny do not announce every step they take. They move in silence, strike with precision, and let their results echo through the ages. If you must tell the world what you are doing, you are already weakening your own power. Silence is strategy. Silence is discipline. Silence is sovereignty over your destiny. Imagine two lions. One roars constantly, trying to remind the jungle of its presence. The other stays silent, waiting, observing, and calculating. Which lion do you fear more? The silent one. Why? Because unpredictability is terrifying. Silence makes people uncertain, and uncertainty makes them respect your presence even before you act. You don't need to announce who you are when your silence already demands attention. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you choose your words like diamonds, rare, precious, unforgettable. Most people throw words around like sand and nobody values them. But when you speak rarely, when your silence has built anticipation, people lean in to catch every word. They know that if you broke your silence, it must matter. That is the royal power of silence. It transforms your voice into prophecy. When you are silent, you stop explaining your pain to people who will never understand it. You stop wasting time convincing doubters of your vision. You stop giving enemies the map to your weaknesses. Silence turns you into a fortress. They may see your smile, but they will never know your strategy. They may witness your presence, but they will never predict your next move. And in this mystery lies your advantage. The world cannot destroy what it cannot read. There is an ancient wisdom: do not speak unless your words are more beautiful than silence. Think about that for a moment. Every word you release is energy leaving your soul. If your words are not stronger than the silence they break, you are losing energy, leaking power, and weakening your aura. Royal silence is not just the absence of words, it is the conscious decision to preserve your power until the right moment. The ones who gossip, the ones who shout, the ones who constantly defend themselves, they may look powerful in the moment, but deep down they are exhausted. Noise drains them. Silence fuels you. It sharpens your vision, strengthens your patience, and fills your aura with a gravity that pulls respect and opportunities toward you. When you live in silence, you don't chase. Things come to you because your silence creates a magnetic field around you. Do you know why silence is feared by the weak? Because silence forces reflection, and reflection forces truth. People who live in noise are running away from themselves. They fear being alone in their own company because their silence will reveal who they really are. But you, the one who embraces silence, you become undefeatable. Because the one who has made peace with their inner voice cannot be manipulated by the noise of the crowd. Silence teaches you patience, and patience is the foundation of mastery. Every seed grows in silence beneath the soil. The universe itself is silent in its greatest creations: the rising of the sun, the blooming of flowers, the orbiting of planets. If the universe itself relies on silence to build beauty, why do you believe your greatness must be announced with noise? Everything powerful grows in silence first, then reveals itself with glory. When you begin practicing silence, you will notice something shocking. People will start fearing you without knowing why. They will wonder what you are thinking. They will wonder why you are so calm. They will wonder what your next move is. This is the invisible aura of silence. It makes you unpredictable, untouchable, and unforgettable. Noise makes you predictable. Silence makes you dangerous. Remember this truth: the greatest storms are born in silence. The most powerful warriors plan in silence. The wealthiest empires were built by men and women who did not broadcast their dreams until the results were undeniable. If you want everything in life, you must learn the royal discipline of silence. Not silence as emptiness, but silence as strategy, silence as strength, silence as supremacy. People will test you. They will provoke you. They will try to pull you into battles of words. But a silent king does not argue with peasants. A silent queen does not waste energy on meaningless fights. Your silence will enrage them because they cannot control you. Your silence will frustrate them because it denies them the reaction they crave. But that is your victory. Your silence breaks their power. In your silence, you become the master of time. While others waste hours explaining, arguing, and justifying, you conserve energy, you gather strength, and you strike when the moment is right. Silence is not the absence of action. It is the preparation for a decisive strike. The arrow makes no sound while pulled back, but when released, it pierces with unstoppable force. That is the royal power of silence. You may appear still, but within that stillness lies unstoppable momentum. Do not misunderstand silence as passivity. Silence is not sitting idle while life passes you by. No. Silence is working in the dark while the world is distracted by its own noise. Silence is creating, building, learning, mastering without announcing it to the crowd. And when the time comes, the silence shatters and the world witnesses your greatness in shock. The loud ones disappear quickly, but the silent ones reign forever. Silence is also the language of the wise. Every master you admire, from spiritual teachers to military geniuses, understood that silence is sacred. They knew that silence creates depth, and depth creates power. Shallow rivers make the loudest noise, but the deep ocean remains silent, and yet it holds entire worlds within it. Be like the ocean. Do not be the shallow river that screams for attention. Be silent, be deep, and let your vastness speak without words. Your silence will disturb those who live in noise. They will call you arrogant, mysterious, or even strange. But what they call arrogance is your self-control. What they call mystery is your mastery. What they call strangeness is your discipline. Let them talk. Let them guess. Every word they waste trying to figure you out makes your silence even more powerful. The less they know, the more they respect. The less they hear, the more they wonder. Think of a chess grandmaster. They do not speak during the game. They do not announce their strategies. They do not explain their intentions. They sit silently, patiently, and make every move with precision. And their silence is intimidating because you cannot predict them. That is the royal power of silence. It turns you into a grandmaster of life. You stop playing checkers with the noisy crowd and begin playing chess with destiny. The most dangerous people are not the ones who scream their plans. The most dangerous people are the ones who watch, listen, and say nothing. Silence makes you a collector of information, an observer of patterns, a student of reality. While others expose themselves through noise, you are learning their weaknesses, memorizing their moves, and preparing your advantage. In silence, you win before the battle even begins. Every insult thrown at you is an invitation to waste your energy. But when you answer with silence, you disarm your enemies. You take away their control. They want your reaction, but your silence starves them. They want your anger, but your silence poisons them. Silence turns their attacks into empty air. This is why the strongest warriors never fight with words. They fight with presence, with action, with results. Your silence also builds respect within yourself. When you no longer need to shout for validation, you realize your own worth. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone because your silence proves that you are beyond approval or disapproval. This is the secret of true confidence. It does not roar, it does not beg, it does not explain. It simply exists in silence, unshakable and untouchable. The royal power of silence is not just external, it is internal. When you practice silence, you quiet the storms inside your mind. You silence your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. You begin to hear your own soul. The noise of the world drowns out your inner voice, but silence amplifies it. In silence, you will discover answers you could never hear in chaos. The voice of intuition whispers only in silence. Notice how silence reveals truth. When you say nothing, people reveal themselves. In their rush to fill the silence, they expose their secrets, their fears, their weaknesses. Silence is the mirror in which people show their true faces. You do not need to interrogate or confront. Your silence alone becomes the test. Those who cannot handle your silence are not worthy of your words. The world today glorifies noise because silence cannot be controlled. Silence is independence. Silence means you cannot be manipulated. That is why so many fear it, because they cannot read it, cannot measure it, cannot use it. But the one who masters silence becomes untouchable. The less you reveal, the more powerful you become. The less you explain, the more people imagine. And imagination is always greater than reality. Silence also makes your presence unforgettable. Think of the people you admire most, their silence, their calmness, their ability to control themselves. You remember not their noise, but their stillness. Noise is forgettable. Silence lingers. People may forget what you shouted, but they will never forget the way your silence made them feel. Silence leaves an echo in the mind. If you want everything in life, wealth, respect, influence, mastery, you must practice silence as a daily ritual. Wake up in silence, work in silence, build in silence, and let your results roar. Those who chase attention will exhaust themselves, but you will conserve your energy until the perfect moment. And when you reveal your work, it will shock the world. They will ask, where did this come from? And you will smile, knowing it was built in silence. Every empire begins in silence. The pyramids were not announced on social media. The Great Wall of China was not built with noise. The Taj Mahal was not advertised before its completion. Greatness does not need noise in the beginning. It grows in secret, nurtured by silence, until the day it stands tall and the world bows before it. Do not confuse noise with greatness. True greatness is silent until it is undeniable. Your silence makes you a mystery, and mystery is a magnet. People are drawn to what they cannot understand. They will want to know your secrets, your thoughts, your plans. But the more silent you remain, the more powerful their curiosity becomes. You do not chase their attention chases you. Silence flips the dynamic. You stop running after people, and they start running after your mystery. Silence is discipline, and discipline creates destiny. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary words, you sharpen your focus. Every time you choose silence over gossip, you rise above the noise. Every time you choose silence over arguing, you prove your strength. Silence is not for the weak. It is for those who are too powerful to be distracted by the noise of the world. And perhaps the greatest truth of all, silence is divine. Every spiritual path leads to silence. Every prayer begins in silence. Every revelation is born in silence. If you want everything in life, not just success, but peace, clarity, and fulfillment, you must walk the path of silence. In silence, you connect not only with yourself, but with the very source of creation. And that is the royal power that nothing in this world can defeat. Silence is not emptiness, it is space. And in that space, creation happens. The painter begins with a silent canvas. The composer begins with silent air. The writer begins with a blank page. Silence is the raw material of greatness. Without silence, there is no art, no invention, no discovery. Noise destroys creativity, silence awakens it. If you want to build something extraordinary, you must learn to love silence, for it is the womb of genius. When you walk into a room and remain silent, people notice you more than the one shouting for attention. Your silence creates an energy that fills the space. They wonder, who is this? Why are they so calm? Why do they not need to speak? And their curiosity gives you power. You do not need to demand respect. Your silence commands it. Presence without noise is the highest form of authority. Silence is also the key to self-mastery. When you learn to silence your impulses, you master discipline. When you learn to silence your anger, you master emotional control. When you learn to silence your fear, you master courage. Silence is not just about words, it is about mastering your entire being. The one who controls silence controls themselves, and the one who controls themselves cannot be defeated. Noise makes you a slave to the outside world. Silence makes you the master of your inner world. The noisy person is constantly reacting to opinions, to gossip, to fear. But the silent one moves from strength, not reaction. They do not bend with the winds of the crowd. They move like a mountain, silent, immovable, unshakable. And this unshakable silence is what allows them to climb to the highest peaks of life. The path of silence is not easy because it requires ego death. Your ego wants to be heard, to be noticed, to be admired. But silence starves the ego. Silence teaches you that you do not need the applause of the crowd because you are already crowned within yourself. The true kings and queens of destiny wear invisible crowns, forged in silence long before the world bows to them. When you practice silence, you will find that your energy rises. Words are expensive, they cost energy. Gossip costs energy. Explaining yourself costs energy. Defending yourself costs energy. But silence preserves it. The more silent you become, the more energy you retain. And that energy transforms into focus, into power, into magnetism. The one who wastes no words becomes unstoppable. Your silence will confuse the world. People will misinterpret it. They will say you are cold, distant, or difficult. But let them misunderstand you. It is their problem, not yours. Every misunderstanding is proof that your silence is working. Because silence is not about being liked, it is about being respected. And respect always outlasts popularity. Think of the night sky. It does not shout, yet it holds galaxies. It does not make noise, yet it contains infinite power. That is how you must live, silent, vast, and powerful. You do not need to announce your greatness, you simply exist as greatness. And those who look at you will feel the depth of your silence like they feel the depth of the universe. Silence is strategy in relationships too. The one who speaks less often holds the power in the conversation. The one who listens more gains more knowledge. And the one who does not rush to answer holds the authority. In silence, you learn. In silence, you control. In silence, you position yourself above the noise. The less you say, the more every word you do say matters. Do not confuse silence with submission. Silence is not weakness, it is timing. A sword kept in its sheath does not mean the warrior is unarmed. It means they are waiting for the right moment to strike. Your silence is your sword in its sheath. And when the time comes, your action will cut deeper than 1,000 words. When you argue with fools, you become one. Silence protects you from this trap. Fools demand noise, wise ones remain still. The more you argue, the smaller you become. The more you remain silent, the larger you grow in their eyes. Let your silence insult those who try to pull you down. Let your silence be the mirror that shows their own foolishness. Nothing humiliates an enemy more than your silence. Silence is also the secret of attraction. Think of the most magnetic people you know. They do not rush to speak. They do not reveal everything. They remain silent, holding back, creating mystery. And mystery is irresistible. People chase what they cannot fully grasp. Your silence makes you that mystery, that puzzle, that enigma they cannot solve. And in chasing you, they elevate you. When you live in silence, you move differently. You stop announcing your dreams and start living them. You stop sharing your plans and start executing them. You stop begging for recognition and start building undeniable proof. Silence turns you from a talker into a doer. And in a world full of noise, the doer always wins. Understand this, every moment you choose silence, you are building power. Every moment you hold back words, you are gaining strength. Every moment you let your silence speak, you are training your soul to command reality without effort. Because silence does not chase, it attracts. Silence does not beg, it demands. Silence does not fight, it conquers. And one day, your silence will become so powerful that when you finally speak, the world will fall silent to listen. That is the ultimate transformation. From silence to voice, from invisibility to dominance, from mystery to legacy. And all of it begins with the courage to be silent when others cannot bear it. That is the royal power of silence, and it will give you everything in life.